So we do have a quorum present. Approval of minutes from previous meetings. I think what we're talking about, what was the date, Catherine, for November's meeting, I think it was?
Yep, November 6th.
So, yeah, November 16th. So we have everyone for the committee, voting committee members, you should have the minutes for that were sent to you for November 16th. I know, I think, Peter, you sent out some corrections. I have not reviewed the corrections. But I guess, Catherine, I think you incorporated them already. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I sent out a revised one in case
Right.
someone pull it up to look at now.
Okay. Okay. So with that, I'll need a motion to approve the revised minutes. Someone, if you could unmute and make the
So
motion.
moved.
Joe DeLucia with a motion.
Seconded.
Oh, seconded by Peter. I did want to quickly just, I did forget that we are doing this meeting under the governor's executive order rules. That means it's all roll call votes. The meeting is being recorded. It will be posted on the city's website. Just to remind everybody of that. So let's keep the cursing down to a minimum and and behave ourselves in general, I hope. Yeah, just poquito. Yeah, just a little bit. Okay, so with that said, any more additions, corrections, or deletions to the minutes?
Just one thing. Does anybody know what CDS stands for? It's in the minutes and it's an
Yeah.
acronym.
Catherine just sent something out on that, I think. Catherine, what was that?
It's hold on. Give me 1 second.
I know, I just saw the email. I don't remember the content.
Yep, it's Consulting Engineering Services.
CES, yeah. All right. It's
Oh,
supposed to be it's supposed to be CES, yeah.
Okay.
Not CSC.
Okay.
All right. Good enough. Anything else? Then I guess we'll do by roll call. I'm just going to go, I'm kind of going through what I got in here. Oh, Greg Balassi is coming in. Myself, I'm voting in favor. Greg Carabine.
Yes.
Peter Grothier.
Yes.
Christine D'Estasio.
Yes.
Cindy Beauregard, even though you weren't here before.
Yes.
This thing keeps on reordering. Mark Kulos.
I'll abstain because I wasn't part of
Roger
that.
that. Roger that.
Well,
Stacy Gould.
Well,
Oh, go
point
ahead.
of order on that.
Go ahead.
Under Robert's rules, you can still vote to adopt minutes even if you were not at the
Correct.
meeting. So he does not have to abstain. He has the
Correct.
option, but he doesn't have to.
Correct.
For the record, I'll just abstain.
Oh.
Yeah, that's fine. Stacy Gould. I can't unmute Stacy. There you go.
Yes.
Thank you. I'll mute you. And I think that that cover. Oh, Greg Balassi, who just came in. This is on the minutes from the updated minutes. I don't know if you want to vote.
I vote yes.
Okay, you vote yes. So it's unanimous of those present voting in the affirmative. Okay, these are so much fun. All right. Is there anybody here for public comment? I'll ask a few times. I don't think so. Is anyone here for public comment? And last and final time, is anyone here for public comment? I see none, therefore I will move on. Jim Barrett and staff. Well, I don't know if Jim is here, but I see Greg here. So you want me, did you want to host, Greg, or how do you want to do this?
I just need to share a screen.
All right.
Uh,
All right, give me a
if we do
minute.
that. And I know Jim was trying to join us. He just called.
Oh, there
me.
he is. There he is. I got him.
Made it in.
He's coming in.
Oh, there he is. Okay.
Hang on, I'm just gonna change this. You should be able to share.
Okay. Jim, do you have stuff you want to go over first? You want me to just share and pick up from where we were talking about? You can unmute yourself.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the three items that we had this evening, and I'm sure they're in the order you have them, Greg, the conditions assessment, the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, fire protection, the enrollment projections discussion, and then the community outreach. If we could have a conversation around that. So why don't you take it away?
Okay. Let me hit the right one here. Okay, is everyone seeing a screen with a bunch of text on it?
Norwich Public Schools
Okay.
Facility Study and Master Plan, Kelly Middle School.
That's what it says. So this, in November, we told you we had gotten in the CES draft, and we were working on ours. At that point, we did not have them vetted or put in order to distribute or make available to people on the committee. So we have that now, and I can walk you through one of these, and then if we are to the point where people want to start reading through them and getting familiar with them, we will post them on a link. There's one for each school. So this is all on the engineering side of it, and each one is set up the same way. So once you know one, you'll know all of them. It starts with just the name of the school, and then it starts with a narrative, and it goes through relatively quickly numbers and bullet points on the plumbing systems. And you see with the Kelly School, since it's one of the newer ones, they'll point out when it was installed, what was installed, what size it was, if it's a meter, backflow preventer on domestic water, natural gas, propane, oil is addressed in this, and the sanitary if it's on a septic system or goes to the public system. Storm systems are reviewed as far as is practical, and you'll see some comments. These typically come up pretty quickly with secondary roof drains were rusted, have pooling around them. You'll see further discussion of the roofs when you we get our assessments of the buildings put together with these, and you'll be able to compare them back and forth. Kelly has a reclaimed water system. Not many of the schools have that. Plumbing fixture count from there, and then the hot water system. So a pretty good look at each one of the systems gets called out in its basic form. Continues with fire protection. So that takes care of all of the water side of the building, and then goes into mechanical systems. They generally start with an overview of how it's heated, and if they're boilers or hot air, rooftop units, whatever they are. And then if it is air conditioned, it'll come up right after that. Then how it's distributed, and then if it is how it is used for heating and cooling, dual temp, 4-pipe, whatever the system might be. And then down through ventilation, and then we'll often pick out the larger parts of the building, auditorium, gymnasium, any specialty rooms, if it has its own system or has a something that differentiates it from the main building. Jump to toilet rooms, how they are equipped and how they are provided with fresh air and ventilation, and then into electrical systems. And here they get into service entry, if it's 3-phase what it's rated for, the voltage, and where and what type of boards those are. Capacity, whether it's adequate, appears to be adequate, the distribution system, and then down, including if there's a generator, what condition that generator might be in, and if you have any outstanding violations, which you see in here. NFPA 110 is the location of the automatic transfer switch is located in the same room as the service entry switchboard, which is a violation of NFPA 110. So trying to call attention to some of those items that may need to be addressed either by working with your fire marshal and local officials, or it may be as simple as pointing out that this installation and that code are not of the same era. And that'll give you a chance to work with your local officials to see if they want any type of changes made to that. We also talked about emergency lighting and fire alarm systems and lighting in general. And then down into technology systems. And here we're talking about the main system that's carrying it all, the phone system, the horizontal cabling, which is all the interior cabling, wireless access devices, what type they are, how old they are, and the general condition. And then the public address system, IP devices, wireless clock, video surveillance, and the intrusion detection system, if any. Then there are photos that integrate with this. And in the final report, these photos are generally integrated and interspersed with the text. But this, when you first get these, they come into us as two separate files. And that's how we will post them for the time being. And these are as much to make everybody aware of what the words are depicting. And so Kelly, being a relatively new building, the craftsmanship, workmanship in it was of a good order. And you start to see the condition that the building is kept in and where materials are stored, and the amount of deterioration or wear as insulation starts to get damp and wet. That's your water feed system. So it's probably sweating inside that insulation. And a few years from now, that might become a repair project for somebody. But at this point, this building's looking quite good. The systems all look good. This is the roof flow they were talking about. That's primary, that's secondary, most probably. Your gas system and the rooftop array for appears to be hot water or watering. Urinals, water closets, sinks, and plumbing for various systems shown. This is air handling and chiller units, water pumps and boilers. And those all kind of turn together and become a part of the report when all is said and done. Go up onto the roof for all your rooftop mounted equipment. And here, if there are pieces missing, we generally try to photograph it and make sure it shows up in a few places. A lot of times you'll see service covers or fan shrouds have been damaged. We'll try to photograph those, make people aware of them. And then inside for ceiling conditions, lighting, and unit ventilators wherever they may be, and down to switch gear, all nicely installed, piped in nicely up on a plinth so it doesn't get flooded out if you have water problems. And then out to the generator, disconnect, and the Lutron system control panels, and then down to alarms, emergency lighting, emergency signs, and I believe one more. Then our wireless, our technology connection, and the looks like PV array control, be my guess. I don't know that one. And then a little bit more on technology so that you know where we're all looking at, and nicely put together. Everything's tagged and wired, looped very nicely. Nice work in that building. So that is, let me jump back up so we don't get too far ahead of ourselves. So that's a typical MEP side of the assessment We have one for each one of the buildings that were looked at. One file with photos, one file with text. We can marry those all together, Mark, and make those available to whoever might want to start looking for them. We'll do it in a PDF format, and people can comment on them, and we'll continue to go from there. Those people, I know Greg's pretty interested in the buildings. Anyone who wants to read through that and shoot some questions back to us, we'll endeavor to answer as much of them as we can. And what we can't answer, we'll get back out in the field to make sure we understand what we're looking at. So that is
Well, I
the
was
building
thinking,
piece. Yep.
we probably should take them and put them on the shared drive.
Okay.
I think everybody, except maybe the new Cindy and Mark, probably don't have that link yet, but shouldn't be a problem.
Okay.
The
I'll
superintendent's
get those
office,
packaged up.
yeah, the superintendent's office set up a shared drive for this whole thing, so
Okay.
we've been throwing everything in there.
Okay. Well, I'll get those packaged up, and then we'll get them on their way, and I'll send an email out when they're ready to post, so people will know they're out there. So our second point was on the enrollment study, and we informed everybody that SLR stepped out. We brought in another group that we've worked with, Jerome McKibben, and they are set to go. We're going back and forth with the district's legal advisor and trying to get a meeting set up with them to review the information that was being requested. And at the last exchange of emails I saw right before the holidays, they had missed on days when people were available. So we're trying to get everybody back together again and get a sign off or an approval from the legal advisor on the information that's being requested. Nothing out of the ordinary, but due diligence is always better than answering a question later. So we'll get back on that one and try to get everybody on the same page again. It was a little bit unfortunate that it didn't happen before the holidays, but then having spoken with Dr. Stringfellow and finding out how busy her staff was with dealing with COVID and filling in holes of teaching positions, I'm not sure anybody wanted to go gather up a whole bunch of information anyway at that point. So we'll get that moving. It's not going to impact the outcome. We just had to get past the October confirmation of enrollment before we started gathering information. So we'll get that, and then that will start moving along pretty quickly. And then our last piece on this was starting to get programming going. And there's two parts to this. One is we talked about doing an online survey with parents and teachers, teachers/administrators in the schools, and then perhaps with some of the students. So we've got a list of questions that we've used in a number of different districts now. And it's for the parents, it's trying to get an understanding of the family, how long they've lived in the district, how many children they have of school age, which schools they attend, how familiar they are with the building. So this is kind of, who are they, what do they know about the district, and how long have they been there, what schools are they in? And then the second set is more about their familiarity with the facilities themselves. The best and worst features, are the classrooms and workspaces adequate? Are other spaces working for them? Do they feel the playgrounds are good, and are the schools easily accessed? And this is for two-part. One is to try to get a gauge on how well parents know the facility, and also from that, how much we can learn from them about how the facility is actually perceived. I mean, we've been through it, and we have our opinions of it. We're trying to get opinion from other people and from the people who use the building, whose kids go there. And then the last one a little bit broader. Children learn best in a school that has, and this is an open-ended question, and we'll often see a range of responses to this, everything from a friendly and engaging staff all the way over to fewer kids in the classroom, all the way over to, I don't know. Then are what are 3 things the school district should work at improving? And then the last one is an open question of what else do we need to learn about the school? So these 13 questions get it'll take somebody about 10 minutes to answer them. We generally will get about between 25 and 35% response when these are blasted out across the entire district. And in Norwich, we're intending to do them by school, so that people don't have to, we don't have to sort through a ton of data to get information about each one of the schools. So that was parents. Next was teachers, and these are kind of arranged the same way. Tell us about yourself. How long have you worked here? What's your current position? Which schools do you work in? How long have you worked in the school? How familiar are you with the building? And that's the building that they are currently working in. That question relates to that. Tell us about the facilities, best and worst features. Children learn best in a school that has. So we move that question up a little bit. Infrastructure systems, heating, air conditioning, windows, doors. We're after what's it like to be in this building all day long from the point of view of a teacher. Is parking sufficient, or pedestrian motor vehicle traffic patterns separate? Are the playgrounds good? And then overall, what's your overall level of satisfaction with the school? And we're specifically after facilities here, not not anything else, although we'll sometimes get that. And then why do you feel that way? And then the 2 questions at the bottom is what can the district work most at improving? And then our 3 questions is the workspace you're assigned appropriate for the work you do? And what else do we need to learn about your school? So a couple of relatively open questions at the end, and these are all done online. So the amount of writing on most of these questions is limited to multiple choice or word answers that look for common words amongst all the answers. These last couple are inviting people to actually opine on their present situation and give us their opinion on what they're thinking. And then the last one was for student surveys, and I need to work with Dr. Stringfellow on this one a bit. We were initially targeting the 8th grade and went back and forth with her today with some emails, and I need to talk with her about either expanding us down another grade or so, or perhaps restructuring how we engage the students. 6th grade is about as low as we can go and get some positive input from kids. It's not a matter of them not being able to interact with the computer and give us answers as much as it is them being able to understand what the question is and why are they being asked to answer it. So we'll look a little bit further into that. I'll talk some more with Dr. Stringfellow, and we'll come to some direction on this, and we'll get those posted. That we usually give them about 7 to 10 days before we just shut the survey down, and then paw through all the information and start to see some patterns happening there. So that is the last of what I have to share with you, I believe. We have a couple more questions for the kids there. And then that was it on the shared documents. If no one has questions on those, I'll stop sharing the screen and we can continue to talk.
Okay, Mark Kulas here. I've got a couple comments about the surveys. As far as the parents' input to facilities, no one other than students and staff have been allowed in the buildings for almost 2 years now. So, you know, their knowledge of the facilities, you know, if they've even been in the building, would be, you know, from 2 years ago. So their knowledge is quite probably fuzzy, and they've probably never even seen the classroom where their student is attending right now. As far as the student input, I would recommend going at least to 5th grade because our elementaries go to 5th grade and you're going to get no information at all about the elementary schools without input from the 5th grade students. And the number of questions to the students, I would say no more than 8 to 10 questions. You've got to really pare it down and put it into simplified language for the students, or either that or have the survey conducted in class in front of a teacher and the teacher take the responses, or, you know, send it home and the parents work with the students to come up with an answer. But you really have to pare it down for the grade level, and you know, kids get bored quite easily. Anything beyond 8 or 10 questions, their eyes are going to glaze over.
Good point.
Great.
The-
One second. I just wanted to ask, I mean, Greg Balassi is one of our actual teachers there. I just wanted to get his opinion.
So we give a number of surveys throughout the year. I'm now in one of the elementary schools. I would say you could even go down to 3rd or 4th grade. If you put it on a scale, if you're worried about how a younger student could answer the questions. So just give them, you know, Likert scale 1 through 5, perhaps. Really, you know, make it specific to the grade level or the band of grade levels. But we give surveys all the time to students throughout the grades. I concur that we definitely need to get the perspective of the students in the elementary schools, find a way to make that possible, because if you're only giving it to 8th graders, the last time those 8th graders were in an elementary school, there was no thing as COVID to them. So they're not going to have a really good memory of their elementary school experience, I think, as it is now, because they're 8th graders. They've gone through quite an experience as it is. But we definitely need to get a survey to our current elementary school students, as well as all the students in the middle schools. That's my take as an educator in the city.
Thank you, Greg. That's what I was
Good
looking
input.
for.
And the question with the parents, Mark, I appreciate that they haven't been in there, and that some of them may have never been in there even when they could have been. In a way, that's kind of what we're trying to ascertain also is, are they, how familiar are they, which will help guide how we talk about the buildings moving forward. And you know, one of the overriding efforts or intentions of this planning effort was to engage as much as we could with the community. And this may be a good opportunity to get a read on what the level of knowledge is, and what way do we need to get back out and engage with people. Yeah, the first community engagement meeting ended up with 12 people tops. And those people really knew that school and were really engaged in it. But there had to be certainly more than that, who know about the district. So I'll put some thought into the parent piece and see what we might do with that one. But I'd really encourage us to try to engage with them, and at very least get a feeling for what they know and don't know.
Okay. Any other questions?
So, Mark, this is Peter Goff here.
Go
So
ahead, Peter.
a couple of questions. One is expectations on the enrollment study and the programming. It looks like we probably wouldn't have anything there to discuss probably till the March meeting at best. Is that a good estimate?
Yeah, that's about what we're aiming for. Trying to get now set up with Dr. Stringfellow's office for some programming meetings to get those moving along. And I'll follow up on the enrollment stuff if they've managed to get the data they need. That's a relatively quick turn on that. And so it's a matter of when they get the information. So I would think March, you'll be in good shape for going through enrollment programming and start to see how everything fits together with the existing schools.
Now, are you looking at current enrollment or enrollment projections?
Well, we start with current and then project out 10 years.
All right, well, the current, I mean, they have that because we're updated monthly on the enrollment figures as far as the Board of Ed goes. So those figures are available now.
Yeah, Mark, we had to wait specifically for your October updates. And that was what Greg had mentioned earlier. As they came on board, they were looking to grab the October updates and be able to utilize that information as the basis, which is pretty common for these guys.
Yeah, so that stuff has already been, you know, as far as the October, that's already been figured in to the current enrollment. As far as projections go, I don't know how far, you know, they generally subcontract that out for projections to a company that does demographic work.
Yep, that's what we're doing with our guys now. And they will go out, they'll do a 10-year projection, and they'll tell you that out to 5 years is pretty accurate, out to 7 is 5 to 7 is kind of a real projection, and then 7 to 10 is truly out there because none of the children who will be attending school 10 years out are born. So this will be a full enrollment forecast across the entire district. And then that's will give you a benchmark from which to work as we move forward as well. So our couple of things conspired against us on the enrollment. We got the October stuff. The October enrollments were available. That's what the state uses as the benchmark for the year because of COVID skewed all the other enrollments for the previous year. So everyone was waiting for October, and then SLR pulled out and said they weren't doing enrollment projections and doing that type of planning anymore. So we had to find another firm, brought that back to Mark. We brought it to the committee in November, got them on board, and put in the listing of the information we wanted, got a letter back from, I believe it's Halloran and Sage, saying we'd really like to talk to you guys before we authorize release of all this information. So that's where we're at on the enrollment piece now.
All right, could I just ask the committee members to use the raise hand function? So I know when people are waiting to speak. Joe DeLucia, you have your hand raised.
Thank you. Pete Gauthier, was that both your questions?
I had one other question, which is relative to, so relative to the facilities assessment, essentially the same question, except in this case, are we going to be prepared for you to lead us through a discussion on each of the schools, maybe starting in the February meeting, and what your overall assessments are and where we stand, or is, again, what's your expectations?
Yeah, that's a good target for February. We should be in good shape to, I don't know if we'd get through all 10 of them in one night without coffee, but we can certainly start.
I prefer Mountain Dew, but I understand.
I just got a new coffee maker myself, so we'll give it a workout. Good enough. All right, thank you, Peter. Anything else, Peter?
No.
Joe?
Thank you, Joe.
All right. Joe,
You're welcome. Okay, so and I know Stacy's on the call too. We're the two members of the city council that are still on this committee. So I'll take this. I don't see it as opportunity, but I guess it's my turn to be a bit of the bad guy, or wow, deliver a little bad news. The council recently passed a resolution giving this committee until June 30th of 2022 to deliver its report to the council with a recommendation. When you walk the timeline back, if this is going to be on the November ballot as a referendum, if this project is going to be on the November ballot, then it has to be in the Secretary of State's office by September 1st, which means that the council has to approve it for referendum prior to that. And with all of the public hearings that need to be added into that timeline, we set June 30th to give us enough time to accomplish that process. There might be a little bit of wiggle room in there, I know that later on in the agenda, we're going to talk about meeting schedule and we're going to talk about timeline and so on and so forth. But I just wanted to get us thinking about that. And that leads me to my actual question, which is, do we feel as a committee like we have our hands around the scope of what this project is going to be? And here's why I ask. I'm starting to get contact from like the rec department, they'd like a seat at the table. They'd like to be considered because the outside facilities that happen as a school, at our schools, I should say, directly impact their operations. We've been talking both, all the members of the council since the fall have been talking about engaging the school system as satellite community centers, right, to be able to provide services. Again, we need to have those conversations because we've got to have the space and the programming, right, to accomplish that as a mission. I heard drum beats in the jungle that a public safety component to this project might also enter the scope. And I think I just want to start this meeting of the new year with all those things on the table so that we know what conversations we need to have with that June 30th date in mind. I know that's a lot of work. That's an ambitious deadline, but this thing needs to move forward. And so we need to get our hands around exactly what the scope is going to be. Thank you.
Okay. No, we'll probably talk about that very shortly. Okay. So anybody else with comments? Not hearing any. Okay. I'll ask Greg and Jim if they have any needs from the committee right now as far as an actionable item. So I don't think we're there yet.
I'd go to what Joe was just talking about. If there are other groups that have an interest or might have an interest, the sooner we can define them and get that defined. I mean, Park and Recs with the fields is not that unusual. Satellite community centers, that's going to involve some thinking and talking. And public safety component, whatever form that might be, Joe, would be helpful. So I think on the rest of it, we're fine. I'm not overly concerned with the 6/30/22 deadline. And I'm just concerned if there are other entities that need to be or should be or perhaps might want to be integrated into the thinking, that we get them identified and get some contact people and get the discussion going.
Well, the rec department is fairly easy, but I mean, I don't know, Joe, did you have others in mind?
Well, so we got a lot of little pieces in here, but you're absolutely right. The rec department, engaging the rec department with the new director of human services and the rec supervisor, director, whatever the title is now, inviting those two ladies to our meetings would be a very easy thing to do, and I'm sure they'd be more than happy to attend and give us some input. The public safety piece, that we heard that the board is considering reinstituting the SRO program. So then that needs to be in part of our program for this project, right? To accommodate whatever that's going to ultimately be if it survives the budget process. But the broader public safety piece is, this idea of how does community policing pigeonhole into what we're doing in the schools, if it does at all. Is it prudent, given the current fiscal and condition of the city with the ARPA money and the fact that we're going out for a bond with this, is there room for a conversation about either improving or replacing our entire police facility? I'm not trying to backdoor a new police station into this project. Don't take me wrong. I'm just saying that we should have those conversations before we go to the public and say, this is what the committee recommends.
Well, if there's somebody at the PD, or well, let me back that off one more, Joe. If these are nascent thoughts in someone's mind, the SRO piece will get from Dr. Stringfellow's office. If that's an initiative on the school side, we'll get to that pretty quickly when we talk with them. The community policing is one that generally will work with the PR side of, or the planning side of the police department, who might be thinking about instituting community policing, just to see how they might want to do it and how that might intersect with the school. And from there, you kind of get to your last point of what do you do with your overall police facility. If community policing becomes one of those points that you're looking at distributing your policing further out, is there a point for that on one of the schools, and is that something that the schools want? So first point, we can at least lift up the covers and kick it around a little bit with the SRO program on the school side. The other two, really, we would need to contact or some communication with the PD to see how they envision it.
All right. Jim Barrett, did you have something you want to add?
Yeah, I would agree. As Greg and I have been working through this over the last few months and looking at the schedule and where we're at, we had an RFP that we were responsive to that was, detailed and specific regarding the task at hand, and it's not insignificant. But if there are additional items that are being brought to the table, those have to be quickly identified. I guess that would be my only point to this group.
It's a little late in the game to be changing the rules,
No, not at all. I mean, like Greg said, certain items like reaching out to your Parks Recreation Department and interfacing, that's pretty common in these types of studies. To a certain extent, the policing, we run into it in terms of in larger city districts. And that's usually through the superintendent's office in terms of the direction where it's heading. Some of the other items, we'll need your guidance. We'll need your guidance because we respect the idea that without them thought about, it's hard to take it and have a good conversation with the community about what our next steps. But loading items into this project, we'll just have to carefully consider as we take them on, just to ensure that we can meet our deadlines as promised.
Yeah, and please understand, this is for all the committee members and everybody here. I'm not trying to stretch the boundaries of the original RFP. It's just that people in the community are coming to me asking me about these items and whether they'll be will be folded in or not. And if the answer is no, that's going to be a yes or no right down the list, right? And if the answer is no, at least we can say, the committee talked about it. It wasn't in the scope of the original RFP. It's not appropriate for our conversation about schools, whatever the answer is, but the question deserves to be answered. And I don't want to answer on behalf of the committee. I'd rather come to the committee with these questions and have us discuss it as a group and then reaching some sort of consensus.
Personally, for myself, I think you brought up some valid points, particularly regarding the recreation issue and stuff. So there's certainly other stakeholders we need to consider, outside of maybe outside of the realm of what we've talked about so far. Peter Gauthier.
What is SRO?
is it school resource officer, they call it? It's basically a police officer at the
Okay.
middle school.
Thank you.
Is that it?
That's it.
Christine DeStazio?
Yes, I just want to interject that the Board of Ed's just looking at SROs for the 2 middle schools.
Right.
I just wanted to mention that, but I also wanted to mention regarding the rec system.
Christine, you're blinking out, at least on mine. Christine. Oh, hang on, I got,
We did mention a long.
yeah, Christine, for some reason you're, I think we dropped you. She'll have to get back in. Hello, Bob Aldi, thank you for joining us.
Hello, Mark. How are you? Just got
Good,
done with another at the NFA meeting, so.
all right, good. So Christine, we'll give her the floor when she comes back in. Anyone else on, oh, there she is. All right, Christine, go ahead. So, oh, you're muted. You got on mute again. You got to unmute yourself.
I
There you
don't know
go.
what happened there because I was fine at my end. No, did you hear at the end of what I don't know what you heard of what I said now.
On my end, you were
I
broken
had
up,
said-
so. And you keep
Oh,
on
okay.
breaking up. Yeah.
Okay. First thing I mentioned was that the SROs that we're debating about are just for the middle schools. And then I said that also when we first started this process with the committee, we did mention expanding our fields, et cetera. We wanted that incorporated into the planning process because we know there's such a severe shortage of fields for our students and other people are interested in even renting them or whatever within the city for our travel teams, et cetera. So, but I do agree that we should invite them to have a seat at the table for future discussions. And that was it.
Thank you. Anyone else? So as far as actionable items at this point, I don't really see anything right at this moment that we need to take up. Am I right?
Right.
All right. So let's go to the next item on the agenda, which is the meeting schedule and adjustments as needed. So we'll open the floor up here. Because I think we'll talk about, I don't think we're in need of any adjustments right now, but what we're going to actually handle as far as an agenda for February goes, we're going to start reviewing the buildings, I guess, from the sounds of it. Building reports. And is there anything else for February that we need to consider? And that'll be a big, Peter?
Mark, I was just going to suggest, based on the comment that was given earlier, that we probably should set 2 meetings aside to do that. If we end up canceling one, all the better, but.
Yeah, I believe that, yeah. So we could do the regular meeting and then maybe do a special the week after or something. Does that make any sense? So that would put us, so that's Tuesday, the 15th, I think is our, no, that's January. What am I doing? Yeah, I'm right. Tuesday, the 15th of February. And then we could do one the 22nd of February.
The
No?
21st is a holiday, so
Oh, darn.
city
yeah.
council's on the 20th,
Yeah.
on that following Tuesday.
Yep. So we'll be running into that same thing again.
Yeah, is
I'll have
that
to
when
look at,
schools have vacation? I'm sorry, is that when the schools are closed for vacation too, that week?
Yeah, Mark Kulos is shaking his head, yes. Well, I
21st
mean,
and the
that doesn't,
22nd.
Not my school.
yeah, that doesn't bother me at all. I mean, that has got nothing to do with
The schools are
us.
only closed 2 days.
You
the
know, you have
21st
a
and
different
22nd.
calendar.
21st and
21st
22nd.
22nd.
Yeah. So I gotta take a look at the city calendar and we'll see about the special. But we'll try to add a special meeting in February so we can just do build-in review. And let everybody know. Whoever can make it can make it. And we'll just deal with that. Because that'll be another, we'll probably, I don't know what things are going to be like and, come February. I'm going to wait before making any decisions as far as how and whatever, if we meet in person or it'd be a hybrid and regardless, but I would rather, I much rather meet in person to the extent practical, but I'm also not willing to put people at risk to do that. So, and let's face it, there's a certain amount of convenience in doing this way. So, so we'll do that. And I'll set that up. That'll be my little action item. Then come March, let's look ahead. Where will we be at in the process by March, Greg?
I would hope for enrollment projections to be done, programming to be, if not done, then majority done, and outreach to Park and Rec and probably the PD, just for a cursory point of view to get the PD's input. Park and Rec I'll talk to in the next couple of weeks. So
Yeah, I'll drop
Cheryl.
I'll drop Cheryl a note and then invite her. I'll
Okay.
let her know. I mean, I know Joe and I and Stacy and everybody else know, people
Yeah,
in the city know.
and just on that, Tara Booker is the new department head in human services.
I was going to ask you
So-
about that.
Yeah, so loop her in too, please.
Yep, I'll look it up. All right. Okay, so so those all come in. April, what are we doing? What are we looking at? I'm just trying to forecast this out.
So if in March we had the majority of our data together, in April we would be shaping our suggestions for where you might go with the district and the buildings. May, you would refine and adopt it, and June you would report it out and submit it.
So we're shooting for an adoption in May. Is that what we're saying here?
Yeah, you would receive
God
it
willing.
in May. Yeah, receive it in May, review it, comments back. You would formally adopt it in June and submit it to the council. And typically the submittal to the council would be a presentation.
Correct. Our meeting schedule may not line up. Joe, we might have to do like first meeting in July for a report to the council or something like that.
If we're able to submit it, right, formally submit it, and then the presentation happens on the council meeting right after that, or so like the first meeting in July, I think that would be fine. And the wiggle room that I mentioned earlier is if it had to be, the presentation had to be moved for unavoidable reasons to the second meeting in July, I think we're still in good shape because again, we have that September 1st deadline if the council chooses to move it to referendum.
Okay. Good enough. Any other questions? Anyone? Cindy, did you raise your hand or were you just moving? It's okay. It's hard to tell with these sometimes. All right. I think we've got an idea where we're going over the next several months. If anyone else has any other input and whatever. So as for my end, I'll be looking to schedule a special meeting last week of February. I'll do outreach to the rec department and the new director of human services. And I'll deal with that as soon as we get off the line here. So are there any other issues that we need to? I don't think there's, well, this is a special meeting technically, so I don't think there are any other things. So Peter, you had your hand
Just-
raised?
Can we get the school tours scheduled? And I would suggest.
Yeah,
either
so
late February, early March.
yeah, I would reach it. Let's reach out directly to Amber in the superintendent's office, I think, for those of us that want to do that. On an individual basis, I think. And we'll see if we can't get something scheduled and do whatever. Mark Kulos, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, is there is it possible to get a schedule of the meetings for the year for 2022?
Yeah, it's generally third Tuesday, so that's when it's supposed to be. So that's when everything is scheduled. The only exceptions have been, like what happened last week. So we weren't, technically we weren't impacted by the holiday, but everybody else was, and that pushed us back. So that's why it necessitated the meeting change.
Okay, so it's
So-
the usual is a third Tuesday,
Third Tuesday.
6:30.
Yeah, 6:30.
Okay.
So, and we could change the time if we needed to, but 6:30 was, generally agreed upon. Plus, we have some other things sometimes that are, I predict that we'll be going a little long. So on something, so 6:30 is probably a good time. Peter, did you have anything else you wanted?
Nope, sorry.
All right, no problem. If there's nothing else, an adjournment would be in order, so I'd look for a motion to do so.
Motion to adjourn.
By Peter Gauthier,
Seconded.
seconded by Joseph DeLucia. So we're gonna do the roll call vote. Joe DeLucia,
Yes.
Cindy Beauregard,
Yes.
Greg Carabine,
Yes.
Greg Balassi,
Yes.
Mark Kulos.
Yes.
Now, Bobby, you're not on the committee, right, Aldi? You're not on the.
Yes, he is.
Oh, he is? Oh, you
Yeah.
were at.
No,
the
no,
committee?
he's not.
No, he's not. I didn't
No,
think so.
no.
No,
I-
he's ex
yeah, no.
officio.
Right, okay. Yeah, that's
Oh,
fine.
I thought-
Christine DeStazio.
Yes, I thought he was replacing Heather, but Mark must have actually replaced Heather.
Right,
Okay.
right. Peter Gauthier.
Yes.
And I think that's Stacy Gould.
Yes.
All right, did I miss anyone? Myself, yes. We'll stand adjourned at 7:31. And thanks thank you, everybody. And I'll talk to you. I'll send you a note out regarding the reach outs for the meeting and the reaching out to the rec department and Tara Booker. So, all right, take care,
Thank
everybody. Stay
you.
safe.
Okay,
And I'll
Bye-bye.
be in touch as far as the meeting arrangements and stuff too. So we'll wait and see how that goes. Thank you.
Good night.
Good
Good night,
night.
everybody.